So tomorrow is Remembrance Day, and we don't always focus on remembrance in church because, of course, the big service, as it were, is held at Memorial Peace Park, 11 o'clock tomorrow. But I think it's good for us to reflect on what it means this time of year. So I'm going to think about today, and if you like to write notes, these are the three headings: remembering, being thankful, and being faithful. We remember different things at this time of year. For some, it will be quite a personal memory, perhaps our own personal experiences. Perhaps we remember family members or friends who have served or who are serving in the armed forces. Perhaps we remember loved ones who died serving their country. As well as remembering those things we hold close to us personally, we remember all those who served and sacrificed their lives to protect our country and freedom in both the world wars and in more recent conflicts. It's only by truly remembering what's happened in the past that we're able to understand our present. The past informs our present and shapes our future. It's our own personal stories, the stories of those around us, that tell us how we came to be where we are. And those stories are often mixed. They're a mix of good and bad because life has that same mix, the good and the bad. One of the things I noticed when I first came to Canada was that there are license plates on the cars. We have license plates in Britain as well, but they're not quite as interesting. In that they just normally have numbers and letters on them. Whereas over here, and the same in the States, each province or each state has its phrase, doesn't it? This is the thing we want to be known for. And so, does anyone know what it is here? Beautiful British Columbia, yeah. And I figure that the reason it says beautiful British Columbia is because when you're stuck on the Lougheed Highway in traffic and the rain is pouring down and you can read it, it's that close, the car in front, that you can see the words beautiful British Columbia. And it's always interesting, I don't know if you do this, we often do it with the children, just spotting a car from somewhere else, because it's quite obvious, because it has a different license plate on. And in some provinces, they don't have license plates on the front. I presume that's because they don't catch people speeding from the front, they just do it from behind. I don't know. And in Quebec, they have Je me souviens on the license plate. I will remember. Hope I've got that right. And I remember seeing that and being struck by those three words. Now, I don't think they were in the context of Remembrance Sunday, although in France, those would be the words, I believe, that are used when we might say in a remembrance service, we remember them. In the French service, it will say, Je me souviens. And that thing of remembering, it's almost what goes on a license plate is the thing that the province has decided, this is the most important thing for us to do. And so the most important thing for us to remember in British Columbia is that it's beautiful, evidently. What is it we are remembering? At this time of year, we remember many things. We remember those who've gone before us, those we knew and the many more we didn't know. Perhaps you, like me, have stood and listened to roll calls of names of people. I remember at my last church, we had a remembrance service, and this was in the middle of England, and so there was a reasonably short list of 20 people, I think, who died in World War I, who were from the church, or from the parish. And then there was a list of about 50 to 100, I forget, but it was quite a long list of people who died in World War II. Then there was one who died in Iraq. And just that remembering that conflict hasn't gone away, that the world we live in is not a world of peace. So we remember those who've gone before, those we know, and the many more who we don't know. And in our remembering, I think there are two questions we can ask of ourselves, which is, how are we making the most of our present or of our today? What will we be remembered for? How are we making the best of today? What will we be remembered for? So we remember. and we're thankful. It's a time of year, we've just had Thanksgiving, and if you watch American TV or listen to American radio, we're about to have Thanksgiving again. So it's that time of year when we're thankful. And around Remembrance Day, we're thankful too. We live in a fast-paced world that takes things for granted. There's always something else to do. There's always something keeping us busy. And normally there's something to moan about too. Have you noticed the weather lately? Oh, it's raining, it's too wet. Or it's snowing, we can't get out of the house. Or it's too sunny, it's too hot. Whatever the weather's like, we find a reason to moan about it. Today's probably actually the perfect weather, because it's not hot, it's not cold, it's not raining. It's just about okay, would you agree? We moan about plans to build townhouses and condos and new developments in green squares of space around the city. We moan about ongoing roadworks. I can't leave my house and go anywhere too far without encountering some fairly major roadworks, whether we're heading down towards Mission on the Lougheed Highway or up the Lougheed Highway into Maple Ridge itself, or going on the Haney Bypass. And then there's a back way sometimes I go near the Fish Hatchery, 256th Street. I went around there. They're now building there too, and there's cones. I would say they're on the side of the road, but when I went by yesterday, they'd been moved to the middle of the road. So that was fun. But there's a lot around us, and I think we can easily get caught up, especially as the weather changes and it does become more grey in the sky, to this time of taking things for granted and not being thankful. What does it mean to do the opposite? To be thankful, to not take things for granted. It's one of those simple ideas that's really hard to do in reality. Because to be thankful, we have to first stop and realize what we're thankful for. That's another part of this time of remembrance, is remembering those who made sacrifices to serve their country. Remembering those who seek to bring peace in troubled times. And as we take a moment tomorrow to stop and remember them, we're thankful for what they did. We're thankful, and we make sure they don't go unnoticed. Being thankful is not only an important part of remembrance, but it's an attitude that we can bring to bear on our whole lives. The company I used to work for had us do 360-degree feedback. Has anyone done a 360-degree feedback here? Great, one person did. What a 360-degree feedback is it essentially, it asks somebody to seek. There's a kind of a questionnaire, and so you would seek the people that you work for, the people who work for you if you have them, your peers within your company, people you interact with outside your company, and it could be any organization you could do this with, and it kind of to get a 360-degree view, sort of to see all around you. That's the idea. And one of the questions I did really badly on, honesty time, was the one, do you make people smile by catching them doing something right? Do you make people smile by catching them do something right? Because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know that was my job. I wasn't at the time responsible for anyone or really for anything. It just wasn't what I was to do. And that kind of niggled at me. I thought, well, I'd like my peers and people I work with and my superiors to be able to say, yeah, David makes people smile by catching them doing something right. One day I was on a train, and all my stories typically start with that, don't they? One day I was on a train. Like, where's he going with this one? And there was, I saw something I'd never seen before, which was a man cleaning. Okay, I thought that was funny. There was a man cleaning, and there were cleaners all the time on the trains. But typically, what they did is they came through, and they got the the trash, garbage, rubbish, whatever you want to call it, that was lying on the tables, and they put it in bags and took it away, and that was the extent of cleaning during the day. But this man had with him some spray and a cloth, and he was cleaning every single table as he went through the carriage. And so, inspired by this feedback I'd received about how do you make people smile by catching them doing something right, this wasn't normal. Normally they didn't take the time to do this. So I said, you're doing a great job there. I wish everyone put that much time and effort into what they were doing as you did. And his frown turned into a smile, and he carried on doing his work. And it was a simple thing. And I think I didn't genuinely think it was my place to do that. I didn't think it was my place to do that. And I didn't realize the impact it would have. But as we go into the world, we can have that kind of impact where we express gratitude and where we thank people and where we catch them doing something. It doesn't even have to be something awesome. It could just be something slightly good. And we can congratulate them for that. The people who you pick your coffee up from at Starbucks, if you mobile order, or McDonald's or Tim's, wherever you go and get your coffee, it's very easy to just go in if you do that and just take your drink away and not even say thank you. Are we people who are thankful, or people who take things for granted? It takes some thinking about. It takes a conscious effort to choose to be thankful in our busy lives, to choose to have an attitude of thankfulness, to be thankful for small everyday blessings, the things others do for us, even if it's their job. And of course, we're thankful for the big things. And so at Remembrance, we're thankful. We remember and we don't take for granted those who sacrificed, who served, and who continue to serve. So we remember, we're thankful, and we're faithful. We stand on God's promises. In the Bible reading we heard from Matthew's Gospel, it's the people who might go unnoticed. They're the ones who are called blessed. Blessed is another way of saying fortunate. The passage is known as the Sermon on the Mount, and many would say it's the best sermon ever preached, and it's less than 3 minutes long. It took place 2,000 years ago on the north side of the Sea of Galilee. And the mountain there wasn't really like a mountain like the ones that are hidden behind the clouds and behind the brick there, but it wasn't like the Golden Ears mountains. It would be more of a plain. A wide open space, but high up, as it were. So plenty of room for a massive crowd of people to gather. Hundreds, if not thousands, gathered. There they were, open-eared and open-mouthed as they heard Jesus speak. He started by saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn." There's a whole list of people, you know it well, I'm sure, but there's a whole list of people who are called blessed, and they're not the typical. Not the worldly, not those who are doing well for themselves, thank you very much. But the poor, the downtrodden, the people who are merciful, those who mourn, and the list goes on. Why are those people called blessed? Why is Jesus saying that they are the fortunate ones? By worldly standards, they're not the ones who were held up as pillars of strength and success. But by the standards of the kingdom of God, they are promised great things. You heard a lot, I know, last week about the kingdom of God, the kingdom that both has come and has not fully come, the now and the not yet kingdom. Jesus was talking all the time about the kingdom of God, and he came to build the kingdom of God on earth. The values of the kingdom of God are different from the values that the world wants to embrace. In all of what Jesus says in that Sermon on the Mount, he encourages us to be different, to take the kingdom seriously, to pick up the wisdom Jesus offers with both hands and to run with it. He says that it won't be easy, and nothing in life that's worthwhile is easy. But is it rewarding? Absolutely. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. Being faithful is about being full of faith and not full of religion. Full of faith that the kingdom of God has come and is coming. That Jesus wants every one of us to be caught up in building the kingdom here on earth. Full of faith that there really is something to look forward to. That we have a hope for a future where there will be no mourning or crying or weeping, where every tear will be wiped from our eyes and we'll be at one with God. Full of faith that Jesus' words, these sayings, which notice the unnoticed, which value the unvalued, are true. That they're not just true for me because it's my job to say that they're true. They're true for each of us if we're ready to take hold of them. The exciting and scary thing at the same time is that Jesus wants us, you and I, to be the people who do the work here in bringing the kingdom to fruition. To make this world a better place, a place more like the kingdom of God that he keeps talking about, a place where freedom and peace are sometimes so important that we've had to fight to defend them. So Jesus invites us to join him in making a difference as individuals, to join him in building the kingdom of God here on earth, in our own lives, in our community, and across the world. So we're here at this time of remembrance to be the voice of God. You and I are here to be the voice of God in the world at this time of remembrance, to say we need to be faithful. We need to come back to the Bible, to come back to hear God's voice, so that we can work to make this world a better place. Not just because it's a nice thing to do, but because it's about the kingdom. We remember because it's only by truly remembering what happened in the past that we can understand our present. We're thankful because as we stop and remember those who served and sacrificed their lives, we're thankful for what they did. We're thankful and we make sure they're not forgotten. And in the here and now, we are called to be faithful, to be full of faith, to listen to the call of God, to respond to that deep sense we have within each of us, to want to make the world a better place. Amen.